Well, Robert Whittaker, welcome to California, and thanks for your time on Main Event.
Pleasure, mate. It's a pleasure. I was just hanging around anyway.
Now, for most of the last decade, the UFC middleweight division has been run by yourself and Israel Adesanya. But right now, I kind of feel like we're in the midst of a changing of the guard almost, with your Dricus du Plessis, your Sean Stricklands, your Brendan Allens coming through. Now, your fight this weekend against Paulo Costa, I kind of feel like is a fight to stay in that conversation almost for both of you, right? For the winner, you're still within touching distance of that title. For the loser, it might be a bit of a long way back. Is that how you're looking at this fight?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's a hard fight for me and Paulo. It's going to be a hard fight and a hard test for both of us. This is the logical fight. We're supposed to have fought each other multiple times at this point. And I guess in a sense it is a bit of like the old guard fighting, because we're names that have been in that conversation for so long. And as you just mentioned, that the mix-up in the top of the food chain is changing. There's your Sean Stricklands, your Dricuses and everybody else jumping up. But, mate, honestly, the only thing that matters is just getting in there and getting a win on the weekend. There's not much else to say. Winning opens up every door, whereas, losing is a bit of a speed bump.
Does the new guard excite you?
Mate, I love the movement. I love the opportunity that it opens up for everybody in the middleweight division. I think that's one of the most exciting aspects of the UFC is just opportunity. You see young guys getting a shot, coming in, making big waves and getting title shots within the year. We've seen that multiple times, just being in the right place at the right time or putting on a good performance at the right time. It can change the trajectory of your career entirely. So, mate, yeah, I think all movement is good.
Well, your last fight was the first time in about 10 years that you'd lost to somebody not named Israel Adesanya, and that surprised a lot of people. I remember you came out really strong in that first round, and we were saying in the back it's just going to be another 15-minute masterclass, as it was against Marvin Vettori. Was there an issue with your conditioning in that fight, and has that been rectified at all?
There were several things I wasn't happy with in preparation leading up to it, but everything is 20/20 in hindsight. So I guess we can look back now and say, yeah, the camp wasn't optimal, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, everything could have been right and I still would have lost. You don't know, until you do. So we went in there, he showed up, I unfortunately did not, and the result is as follows.
Dricus du Plessis shocked us all that night, but he continues to surprise us. The man is champion now. Does that surprise you?
Hard to say. Like he surprised me by beating me, right? and mate, Strickland is a fight he can win, though. No, it's hard to say. Like as shocking as it isn't in a way. After fighting him, I understand how awkward he was, how strong and hungry and determined he was. So I think him going up against Sean Strickland matches him favourably.
Does he beat Israel?
Maybe. Like before Sean beat Israel, like no one would have said he would have beat him, right? Before, yeah, it just maybe he does.
All right, well, you mentioned your opponent for this weekend a little early. Let's turn our focus towards him. Paulo Costa is a guy for whom you've prepared twice. Hopefully third time's the charm.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's like I said, it's a fight that has always made sense to us, and especially now. And yeah, I'm glad we're almost there.
You mentioned earlier your dedication. Ever since your last fight, you told me that you've been in like a monk state almost, that you've been so dedicated and devoted to your purpose and you've been training the house down every single day. What is different about this Robert Whittaker sitting in front of me, and why is he better than all Robert Whittakers that have gone before?
Well, I think a big thing was after the loss with Dricus, and like I said, we looked at the camp that had just passed, and we with 20/20 vision. Yeah. And we picked apart what we liked and disliked, where I was at the point of the fight and where I am now. And honestly, a big part of the answer was just getting in there with some doggedness in there, just getting in there with tenacity and mate, that started by throwing myself back at the training, throwing myself back on the mats. And honestly, since that Dricus fight, I've done nothing but train. I've been doing nothing but train. I've been enjoying it. We've implemented new sessions. I've been training differently at some sessions. You know, we've taken some sessions out for now. We've just, I don't know, put in that work. And I can truthfully say, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, everything that has led up to today has brought out, you know, I'm a happy fighter. I'm strong. I'm healthy. Everything's flying. So, yeah, I look forward to getting in there and putting some work on him.
Well, your opponent, Paulo Costa, the Brazilian, you have looked, as you mentioned, very dedicated, but at times, and with respect to him, he has looked like almost the opposite. Sometimes it's been weight misses, it's been pull-outs, and I know some of those have been due to injury, so they were unavoidable, but it's been trolling, it's been tweets. Does his personality make you want to get in there and hurt him even more?
Not really, because like I really want to hurt him already, right? And I don't even know the guy. I don't know his personality. I don't go online and I don't follow the guy. Like I don't really understand the grounding in which like everyone tells me his online personality, yada yada yada. And like I mentioned, aside from that, I already want to hurt him. You know, he's already in the crosshairs.
Why do you want to hurt him so bad?
Because I think that's an aspect that I, you know, loosened the grip, like loosened the reins on last fight. I feel like I was kind of just in there with a headspace of just going to work. And I think that's, I don't know, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So, you know, I've just kind of brought back in some of that hostility, some of that aggression. And, mate, the objective isn't to win on the weekend. The objective is to hurt Costa.
Are you going in there angry?
Nah, like there's a difference between being aggressive and, you know, wanting to hurt your opponent than being angry. I'm not controlled by emotion. You've seen me in the octagon too many times for me to be like make such a rookie error.
What do you think his mentality is going to be like going in there? He obviously hasn't been very active recently.
Mate, it's never stopped him before. I'm expecting the best version of him, of Paulo Costa, you know, arriving at the, you know, on Saturday. He's an athlete. He's a fighter. He knows what he's doing. He's been in these fights. He's been in massive fights before. He understands the task that's ahead of him. I just don't think he truly understands who's going to be standing opposite him.
Well, he started his career 13-0, and we saw how dangerous he was, how much strength he has. What do you need to be wary of when you fight a guy like Paulo Costa?
He's a power puncher. He's got power in his hands. He's got power in his kicks, and he's the sort of guy that if you let dictate the fight, he'll do that. He'll do exactly that. But yeah, it's quite simple to put an obstacle in his, you know, in his path, and that's just by taking it to him, beating him up, like not giving him space, not letting him do what he wants.
Do you think Luke Rockhold did that, played into his game a little bit too much?
Oh, mate, you saw that fight. Like, I don't know what Luke Rockhold was doing, you know, with respect to him, but like that, there were moments in that fight that he just didn't look like he wanted to be there. And, you know, again, in hindsight, you can tell he didn't want to be there. He said he didn't want to do this anymore straight after the fight. Like halfway through the fight, he didn't want to be there. And I'm pretty sure he said, I don't want to do this. Like, you know, and that was his last MMA fight at the moment. So, yeah, it's hard to gauge too much off that.
Yeah. Does that make it more difficult for you then to prepare for him because he has been so inactive?
No, not at all. I'm focusing on what I do best. I'm focusing on my game plan and my delivery of my weapons. And yeah, he can worry about that.
Well, it's not as if you haven't fought anyone with his style before. I mean, you went 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, for goodness sake. Mm-hmm. Do you think the experience in the championship rounds against a guy like Yoel puts you in good stead against the Brazilian Paulo Costa?
I think the experience against all my opponents puts me in good stead. Like experience is just cumulative, right? The fight with Dricus, whilst I lost, I take that on board now. You know, I've fought tough, strong guys that won't go away. I've fought guys like Yoel. I've fought other tough studs like Vittori that you just can't put away, like Gaslam that just don't go away and hound you the entire time. So I've fought these guys before, and it all leads to the same conclusion, you know, like fighting Costa, taking that experience into the fight and putting in the work.
Is this the best Robert Whittaker that we've ever seen?
I would like to think so, mate. Everything feels good. Everything's firing well. And, mate, I feel strong. I feel hungry. And I can't wait. I can't wait to the weekend.
I saw you mentioned in another interview that you are chasing a finish that you really want to finish Paulo Costa. Why is that so important to you?
Because that's what I've trained for the entire camp. The entire camp, like I said before, the objective isn't to win, it's to hurt Costa. And I've trained for months to just try and take his head off. And I'll be upset if it doesn't get taken off.
He hasn't been tested on the ground very much. Do you see that as a route to victory for yourself?
I think skill set, I think if we're talking about skill sets, I'm better across the board. I believe that my jiu-jitsu is better, my wrestling's better, my striking's better. I just think I'm a better fighter than he is. I think I'm a more complete fighter than he is. So in this fight, I'm going to do what I do best, and that's fight. And if the fight goes in any of those directions, I'll beat him at it.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Robert Whittaker will speak to you as the week goes on, but enjoy the next few days.
Thank you very much.